you're a chiropractor, right? And you're putting in all this effort with your marketing. You're doing the social posts, the local stuff, maybe even those systems that promise, tons of new patients. But it just feels like, well, instead of getting those great clients, you're just struggling to keep things afloat. It feels like pushing a boulder uphill sometimes. Why is that?
Yeah, that frustration. It's super common. And honestly,
Hmm.
it's usually not about not trying hard enough. It's more often this misalignment
Mm-hmm.
between the marketing stuff you do and having a really clear brand foundation underneath it all.
Right.
A lot of practices jump straight into tactics, you know, without really stopping to figure out who they're actually for and what makes them different.
Exactly. And that's really the heart of what we want to dig into today. Why those standard marketing plays often just fall flat for chiropractors. Our guide for this deep dive is The You, Me, and Us of Branding Balanced Brands. And it makes this really strong case that real growth, the kind that lasts, it starts with brand strategy. Yeah. That's the groundwork you need before you even worry about your next Facebook ad or whatever.
hmm Think of it like building a house, right? You wouldn't start putting up walls on a shaky foundation.
Yeah.
This source basically argues that a clear brand strategy, that's your solid base, and make sure everything else you build on top is stable and actually works.
Okay, so our mission today then is to unpack this core idea from the source, this you, me, us framework. We want you, the listener, to really get how to build that solid brand foundation. Because this isn't just about getting any patient in the door. It's about attracting the right ones, the people who are a perfect fit, who you can build real lasting connections with.
And that's such a key distinction, isn't it? What does the right patient even mean? It's not just about can they pay the bill? It's much deeper. It's about finding people who genuinely connect with your specific approach to care. And because of that, they become your biggest fans, your advocates.
Absolutely. So let's dive into that first pillar then. You. Now, this isn't just about your personal brand as the doc, though that matters. The you here is about getting crystal clear on who your ideal patient really is. And crucially, what makes your practice stand out to them. It's about being super specific.
Yeah, and what's interesting is how the source really pushes past the basic demographics.
Right.
Age, gender, that's not enough.
Right. They give this great example. Instead of just saying, like, women 35, 55, which is okay, but kind of vague. They suggest building a really detailed audience persona, something like health-conscious professional mothers. They prioritize holistic wellness for the whole family. They believe in finding root causes, not just masking symptoms, and they're willing to invest time and money in preventative care. See how much richer that is? You can almost picture her.
Oh, completely. That level of detail changes everything. When you really get her beliefs, her priorities, what keeps her up at night, then you can shape your message, your whole practice experience to speak directly to her.
Makes sense. And part of understanding this you is mapping out their audience journey. Like, what are the steps they take? What questions do they have? What are they expecting before they even find you, while they're under care and even after?
hmm The source mentions an example where maybe the ideal patient spends, say, 3-6 months researching options. They might even start out hoping for a quick fix,
Yeah.
but they only become really great referral sources after they truly understand the long-term value of what you do differently.
So if you know that journey, you can kind of meet them where they are, right? Address their doubts, give them the right info at the right time. It makes the whole thing smoother.
Exactly. A much more supportive experience.
Okay, another piece of this you puzzle is competition. And the source makes a really smart point here. Your competition isn't just the chiro down the street.
Right. Depending on what you focus on, it could be physical therapists, massage therapists.
Pain management clinics, maybe wellness coaches, even, stuff they find online.
Thinking that broadly about all the choices your ideal patient sees, that's vital. It forces you to get really clear on why they should choose you.
Which leads right into your differentiator. What is it that makes your practice uniquely valuable? Is it a specific technique you're amazing at, some cool technology you use, maybe you have extra training in nutrition, or you focus on, say, athletes or prenatal care? What makes you different?
And it's not just saying we're better. It's about finding those real, tangible differences and then clearly explaining the benefit of those differences to that ideal patient you pictured. Why does that matter to them?
Okay. And the last bit under you is market position. Basically, where do you fit in their mental map of healthcare options? Are you the main alternative to traditional medicine? Are you more of a complement to it? Are you positioned as the premium top-tier choice? Or maybe the most accessible, or the specialist for a specific thing.
Yeah, how you position yourself really shapes how people see you and what they expect when they walk in. Being intentional about that helps attract the people whose needs and, frankly, beliefs match what you actually offer.
So the big takeaway for this you pillar is if you really understand that ideal patient, their journey, who else they're considering, what makes you special, where you fit in, you stop wasting energy trying to be everything to everyone, which is exhausting.
Totally exhausting.
Instead, you can create this tailor-made experience that really connects with the people who are going to become your loyal fans and best
It
referrers.
Precisely. And getting that you figured out,
Yeah.
that builds the perfect foundation for the next piece, which is me.
Yep.
Now, this isn't about ego, like you said. It's about the core identity of your brand, your beliefs, your purpose, the personality of your practice.
Right. And the source stresses, these aren't just like nice words for your website's about page. These me things, your purpose, your vision, your mission, your core values, they're the engine inside your practice. They guide your decisions. They shape your culture.
It's really interesting how directly those internal things connect to how patients feel about you.
Mm.
Authenticity is huge here. If your why goes beyond just making money, if you can articulate a clear vision for the good you want to do, and if your mission spells out how you'll do it, that resonates so much more deeply.
Yeah, the source has some great examples. Like a purpose could be to empower people to unlock their healing potential by fixing root causes, not just chasing symptoms. A vision might be something like a community where vibrant health is normal, where people understand their bodies and take charge, relying less on, drugs and surgery.
Mm.
And a mission could be really specific, like to provide personalized, evidence-informed chiro care plus education and lifestyle help to 10,000 families in our area over the next 10 years. That's way more powerful than something generic.
Totally. And the core values are just as critical. The source emphasizes these need to guide what you do, especially when things get tough. They mention things like evidence-based practice or patient-centered care. But crucially, they say you need to define what that actually means in your specific practice day to day.
Exactly. Just saying you value excellence isn't enough. What does excellence look like when you're talking to a patient or planning their care or doing your own learning? You have to spell it out.
And beyond those core elements, the me pillar also includes your brand stories. These are the narratives, right? The stories that make your practice human, your own journey maybe, or key patient wins.
Oh, absolutely. People connect with stories. Sharing why you got into chiropractic in the first place, or telling about a patient who had this amazing turnaround that builds connection way better than just listing your credentials.
For sure. And then there are core messages. These are the big ideas you keep coming back to everywhere you communicate. Things like your body is designed to heal itself when you remove the interference, or lasting health comes from addressing causes, not just symptoms. That consistent thread.
Which ties right into your brand persona and voice.
Yeah.
How do you sound? Are you authoritative, clinical, or maybe warm and empathetic, energetic? Your voice says a lot about who you are.
And finally, under me, you've got your brand name and tagline. The source calls them micro messages, which I like. And they have to line up with everything else in your me. Vitality Chiropractic, restore, rebuild, reclaim your health sends a totally different vibe than, say, quick relief chiropractic, feel better fast.
Okay, so the main point for me is when you have that deep clarity about your why and your core identity, it creates this magnetic consistency. It builds trust, fosters a real emotional connections, because everything you do and say feels authentic and rooted in something real.
Exactly. And when you've got that strong grasp of you, who you serve, and me, who you are at your core, then the third pillar, us, just naturally flows from that. Us is where the rubber meets the road, right? It's where your brand strategy shows up in the actual patient experience and where your marketing starts to really work for you, not against you.
Yeah, the uses is all about how your practice actually interacts with people. It starts with your visual brand identity, your colors, your fonts, the kind of images you use, the overall look and feel, the source contrasts like clean blues and whites with anatomy pictures versus maybe warm earth tones with lifestyle photos. Neither is right or wrong, but it has to match the you and me you've defined.
Totally. That visual piece is often the very first impression someone gets. It needs to instantly signal what you're about and feel right to your ideal patient.
Then there's the content creation framework. This is about having a real plan for educating and engaging your audience consistently. The source suggests having key content pillars, maybe it's spinal health, nervous system, nutrition, and then delivering value through things like workshops, videos, blog posts, email sequences. A system.
Yeah, that consistent quality content. It does two things. It builds trust, positions you as the expert, but it also actively attracts those ideal patients who are already searching for information on the topics you specialize in.
Okay, next is the marketing ecosystem. This means choosing the right channels and touch points to actually reach your ideal patients. Like a family wellness practice might focus on partnerships with schools or community groups, but a sports injury practice, they'd probably focus more on connecting with coaches or PTs. It's about being smart with where you spend your energy.
And this is where knowing your you really pays off again, isn't it? You stop trying to be everywhere, and you focus your time and money on the places where you're most likely to connect with the right people. Much more efficient.
For sure. And the final piece of us is the client experience. This is the whole shebang, from the first phone call to how your waiting room feels, how easy the paperwork is, how clear your reports are, all the way to being a long-term patient. The source really hammers this home. Every single touch point needs to feel consistent. It needs to reflect your brand's personality and live up to the expectations of that ideal patient you defined.
That client experience is where you actually deliver on your brand promise,
Yeah.
or where you don't.
Hmm.
When it's consistently positive and aligned, patients are happier, they get better results, they stick around longer, and they tell their friends. It's that simple and that complex.
So the big idea for us is when your marketing and your actual patient experience are built on that solid foundation of you and me, everything just works better. It gets easier. Getting new patients stops feeling like this constant grinding struggle. It becomes more of a natural result of being clear, authentic, and connected.
Now, it's important we touch on something the source brings up, this idea that maybe brand strategy is only for big established practices, luxury. And while, yeah, maybe a brand new practice doesn't need a 50-page brand book on day one, the source really insists on the importance of building toward greater clarity right from the start. You have to be moving in that direction.
Exactly. It's a journey. The source talks about 4 stages. First is startup, where, understandably, the feeling is often, we'll take anyone. The risk there is you get a lot of people who aren't a great fit. But the opportunity, you start noticing patterns. Who does seem to get the best results? Who clicks with your approach?
Then as you grow, you might hit stability. You've got patients coming in consistently, but maybe there's no real story holding it all together. Marketing feels scattered. People describe the practice differently. The opportunity then is to start really defining those core messages and zeroing in on that ideal patient based on who your best current patients actually are.
Okay, then comes the system stage. You've got processes, things run smoothly, but maybe it feels a bit mechanical or disconnected from your why.
Right. The chance there is to consciously inject your practice's personality, your values back into those systems, make them feel more human, more aligned.
And finally, you get to the strategy stage. This is where your brand truly guides everything, every decision. The challenge then becomes maintaining that clarity as you grow, but the huge advantage is your authentic brand becomes your superpower, your competitive edge.
Yeah, that clarity is powerful.
And the source shares this quick story about a chiro client that really shows this in action. They were struggling, marketing wasn't working, but they went through this you, me, us process, got super clear on who they served and what made them special, and the results. Marketing became easier, more effective, patient retention tripled, and their best patients started sending them more ideal patients. They stopped trying to be generic and started being amazing for a specific group.
That's such a great illustration, isn't it? It shows that shift from just struggling to actually growing in a way that feels good and sustainable. And it really highlights this core idea. Not all patients are the same. They don't all have the same impact on your practice.
Exactly. The source really goes after that old idea of a lead is a lead. It just isn't true in practice, is it? Some patients become those raving fans, those lifelong advocates. Others might, do their care plan, but never really engage or refer anyone.
Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, some might create friction or negativity, and others can just drain so much time and energy without really getting the results you'd hope for or appreciating the care.
And if your brand strategy is fuzzy, if it's not focused, you end up casting this really wide net, which means you're way more likely to catch those patients who aren't a great fit, the ones who end up draining your resources and, frankly, your enthusiasm.
But flip that around. When you do have that clear you, me, us framework operating, the benefits are huge.
Yeah.
Your marketing naturally pulls in the right people. Your team feels confident talking about what makes you unique. The actual experience delivers on your promises.
And your retention goes up, your referrals go up, the good referral.
Yeah. And the bottom line, higher patient lifetime value. Better clinical outcomes, honestly, because you're working with people who are truly bought in. Workdays become more enjoyable, less draining for everyone, and you get real sustainable growth. not just busyness.
So if any of those frustrations sound familiar, the marketing black hole, the team confusion, patients not really getting why they chose you, always feeling like you have to compete on price, then it really is time to step back and build that strategic brand foundation.
Absolutely. This you, me, us framework isn't just theory. It's a really practical way to get that clarity you need and to communicate what makes your practice genuinely special in a way that cuts through the noise. When you focus on attracting the right people authentically, growth becomes so much more possible.
The source even mentions there's a brand strategy workbook available to help walk you through it step by step. Sounds like a pretty useful resource if you're ready to do this work.
Definitely. It's all about shifting from that constant chase,
Yeah.
you know, chasing any patient with a pulse, to building a practice where your marketing just feels like a natural extension of who you are and who you're truly meant to serve. It becomes effortless in a way.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive on building a balanced and effective chiropractic brand, here's a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on. Just take a second and reflect on those three pillars: you, me, and us. Right now, in your practice, which one feels maybe the weakest, the least defined? And then think about what could happen, what could change. If you intentionally focused on strengthening just that one area, how might that transform how you connect with patients and where your practice goes next?
Yeah, that's a great reflection point, and we really encourage you to explore these ideas further. Think about how getting clearer on your brand strategy couldn't just make marketing easier, but could lead to work that feels more fulfilling and ultimately better results for the patients who are truly the perfect fit for you.